Welcome, Commanders, to Elite Dangerous. It's me, Ricardo. And as we know, Elite Dangerous is a vast galaxy of stars, bound together with ropey politics and a couple of ships here and there, expanding at a rapid rate with system colonization, and about 8,000 stations in a system a week. How are they going to keep up with that? Anyway, navigating its complexities can potentially be daunting for all the new commanders or old commanders who have come back to the game after that hiatus. Misconceptions around information are abound, and I thought I'd try setting the record straight on some of the most prevalent myths that might be holding you back in regards to getting involved with Elite Dangerous. So, let's get into that void of misinformation then. That's right, myths within computer games are abound. When there's a big established player base, it can be quite daunting for the new player to come in, whether you're playing No Man's Sky, Elite Dangerous, heaven forbid Star Citizen, or any more of the plethora of games that are out there, especially the open world sandbox games. I myself had a huge problem with Conan, the Conan open world game, and it's a shame really, because until people took the time, and you know who you are, to show me how to play the game, it was something that I bought, resided gathering dust in my Steam library. Elite Dangerous could well be suffering from that sort of problem as well, even though there's been a resurgence of players given system colonization. Are people falling or succumbing to the myths that have been around in the game for quite some time? So let's get into it. Here's myth 1. Here is the first myth, and we've all heard this one. Never fly without a rebuy. You've heard commanders mutter that. This is usually when you've got to the dusty heights and acquired a ship and haven't got the credits should things go pear-shaped to replace it. You have to go and take out a speedy loan. Are you one of those commanders who goes out, sells one ship, buys another, sells that ship, upgrades again? Or do you store your ships like trophies, looking back on them fondly? Well, let's say, for example, you get to the pinnacle and you go and you get your shiny new Anaconda. Yep, 172 million, circa, thereabouts. You've spent the coin. That's not a lot of money in-game these days. However, it is sagely advised not to fly without a rebuy, because let's face it, you lose that ship on day one because you haven't had the money to engineer it, you haven't boosted the shield power, you're still rocking around with the pulse lasers that came with it, you're going to plant it into a planet, someone's going to mug you off, pirates and what have you, perhaps they'll be in the new Corsair, who knows, and you're going to be crying into your Lavian brandy. However, here's the thing. Never fly without a rebuy could be misconstrued, and some could misinterpret this as a mandate just to play the game safe, where the reality is about balancing that risk and reward. It is indeed sagely advised. Make sure you got enough money to pay the insurance, which will be a fraction of what the ship actually costs. It's also about understanding your ship's capabilities and also your own piloting skills, which will allow you to take calculated risks without jeopardizing your hard-earned assets. So, by all means, go ahead and explore that hazardous resource extraction site, but perhaps just don't do it in your fully brand new Anaconda until you've got decent shields, armor, and armaments, if you know what I mean. Here's the second myth. How am I doing so far? Anyway, the Pilots District is the best place to start. Now, for those of you who are not aware of what the Pilot District is, it was brought into game a couple of years ago to help to encourage players for a sort of a playground, a safe space, somewhere where you weren't going to get your backside handed to you on a regular basis. You weren't going to get ganked out by higher level players in their fruity Anacondas when you're rocking around in an Eagle or a Sidewinder. You had chance to learn the game in this sort of like sandbox within a sandbox environment. The Pilots Federation issued you, on starting the game with a fresh pilot's license, a district permit to the Federation District. Now this permit granted you access to the Federation Space Pilots District, which consisted of training systems to ensure you would be some of the commanders of similar experience would be with you and no one who's going to mug you off. Now, this pilot district will afford you discounts on insurance. Anyway, in your time, training opportunities here would be completed and you'll feel free and confident then at some stage to explore the galaxy. Now, here's the thing. It's in the core systems, no problem, and it's restricted to newly licensed pilots who have no ranks in combat, trade, exploration, etc. Now, here's the thing. In these systems, they offer a simple, low-paying missions that can be completed even in a basic Sidewinder or in an Eagle, with just the basic outfitting that comes with the ship. But once you, as that novice pilot, gains their first rank in combat, trade or exploration, you're offered a graduation mission that then guides you to the systems outside of the Pilots Federation district, and a permit required to access the district is then revoked. There's no going back to it. So, why is it a myth? Well, yes, it's a very good place to start off. How long you stay there is perfectly up to you. You want to get out there into the wider reaches of the galaxy. No longer should you be shielded by the perils that you can find outside of that district. Now, some players will find its limitations, such as restricted access to advanced modules and ships, more hindering than helpful. I imagine I would be like that myself. I would find it very hindering, to be honest with you. And perhaps you just want to get out there. Do 1 or 2 missions and just get out there and get on with the game and get into a little bit of excitement. Get those training wheels removed off that Sidewinder and crack on. Since the beginning of the Elite Dangerous franchise, where you had to guide your ship back into a spinning Coriolis, in through the entrance and egress docking port and dock, it's been a bit of a challenge for commanders. For that new commander, let's face it, docking could be daunting, but it isn't really all that. Rip that docking computer out and get in there. That's what I say. Have a good go while it's cheap to do so. It won't be too difficult to dock at a station or an outpost being nice and easy. Where it gets a little bit challenging is getting it down onto the surfaces and docking at those surface installations. That could be a little bit of a challenge, especially with high gravity worlds. However though, for those who are particularly vexed, the advanced docking computer can also automate the process. A lot of commanders might be worried about the stigma attached to using a docking computer. I've got over 8,000 hours in this game, and for quite happily having peace of mind, especially when trekking for system colonisation, I use one on the cutter. It does help and stops me planting nose first right into the ground and removing all those ceramic composites or CMM composites out of my cargo hold, not to mention the rebuy of the cutter. Docking computers should not be feared. Yes, it's nice to be able to dock if you haven't got one, and it's a skill all pilots should have. However, don't shy away from using one just because it's a bit of a quality of life improvement. Now here's a bone of contention, myth 4, the game lacks social interaction. This couldn't be further from the truth, in my honest opinion. The Elite Dangerous community is not a solitary-based community. It's a cooperative, play-driven community with many different factions offering help to new players. While it's true that in-game communication tools are somewhat limited, despite there being an upgrade about a year and a half, 2 years ago, the community thrives on external platforms, the Discord, the X, formerly known as Twitter, and even just websites as well. Discord perhaps being the best one. These external platforms are an absolute goldmine for the commanders who are looking to get back into game, wondering what they've missed, or even just joining streams on the weekends, like my own, or during the week, with Elite Dangerous partners who have built up their own communities who are absolutely helpful and willing to help the new commander find their way in the galaxy. Joining groups like the Galactic Academy Discord or participating in community forums can connect you with fellow pirates, pilots, even for joint missions, advice and camaraderie. So don't let the vastness of space and the fact that the tools inside the game that are lackluster keep you from getting involved. There's a whole world and galaxy out there for Elite Dangerous and a great community to help you discover it. Now on to my 5th myth, which is the grind. If you're still with me, what do you think of these myths so far? Are these myths that you're subscribing to? Myths that you've seen in the game? I'd be interested to find out. However, it is a common misconception that Elite Dangerous is a grind fest, and that certainly was a case, I think, up to the point of 2024, where Frontier did an awful lot of tweaking to make things less grindy. Materials were more in abundance. Rewards offered more engineering materials in Odyssey. Levels for engineering, for example, were reduced to get those cool upgrades. Now let's face it, there's going to be a grind to every single game you go to. That's kind of a gameplay dynamic. Think about Space Invaders. You could view that as a bit of a grind if you're on level 26 and you're sick to death of shooting Space Invaders. Or hey, perhaps you really are sick and tired of No Man's Sky resetting itself once you get to the natural end point of the game and just finding yourself in another galaxy just to do it over and over again. Grind is everywhere, but it's what you make of it. Engaging in varied pursuits not only alleviate monotony, but also enriches your experience. For example, we're all grinding / playing or cargo hauling for colonization. Brilliant. You haven't got to do it if you don't want to. Yes, you got to do it to get the initial part of the station built in your new system. I get it. But once that's done, sit back, chill, relax, do some bounty hunting. Heaven forbid, go and do some mining. Do some on-foot missions. Break it up a little bit. Elite Dangerous is turning into a vast space opera of a game. Why not take the advantage of it? It's not about the destination, let's say. It's about the adventures you have along the way. Here's a good one. Bigger ships are always better. That allure of commanding a massive vessel is undeniable. Everyone likes a nice big ship, do they not? Leading some to believe that the bigger ships equate to better gameplay. However, larger ships do come with increased cost, reduced maneuverability, and higher risk. Small ships, like the Cobra Mark V or the Viper, offer versatility and can be more enjoyable. Some of the new ships that were brought out last year in 2024 included the Python Mark II. What an OP combat vessel that is. It's an Anaconda destroyer and a fantastic ship for bounty hunting. You got the Type 8, brilliant for trading. The Cobra Mark V, brilliant, small, multi-role, all-rounder ship. Utterly brilliant. Say no more about all of that. Look at the Mandalay, fantastic looking ship. Swept wings, brilliant for exploration, brilliant for exobiology. If I don't mind saying as well, it's not so bad as a Titan bomber when the opportunity pronounced it. But it's not all about the big ships. The Anaconda used to be like sort of the end game aspect of Elite Dangerous when it was first released. Now ships are more varied for all the roles that you can have. You can really have some really good fun and not being limited by the constraints that larger ships will get you. Not being able to dock at certain land ports, not being able to dock at certain outposts, just to name but a few, not to mention the financial aspect as well. It's my opinion that you should be choosing a ship that aligns with your preferred activities rather than simply aiming for size. And that's what she said. Myth 7, and the final myth I'll be addressing in this video, is all about external resources. Some people are saying that external resources are cheating. Some purists argue that relying on an external tool and guide diminishes the experience. I find that to be the contrary. Resources like Inara, Spanch, and the Elite Dangerous Wiki enhance your understanding and efficiency inside the game. Utilizing these tools not only fills a gap that's been left there, a hole by FDev you could say, but also helps you better navigate the cosmos with confidence and knowing that someone else has been there and you're on the right track. Sometimes some people could view that as like, well, if it was a real game, which it isn't, it's a game, then you wouldn't have this help. Well, we do, because it's a game, and why not use the collective knowledge of the Elite Dangerous community? Even the most seasoned commanders can consult star charts and route planners as well that are included with Spanch in Ara. Even the use of voice attack. ED Copilot, a fantastic tool to help alleviate some of the boredom and make your ship feel that it's crewed by a more chatty set of virtual AI and all the tools that come with it as well. It's all about forging your own way in the Elite Dangerous galaxy, and some of these myths can really get in the way. If you're embarking on your Elite Dangerous journey, it can be exciting and challenging, but by dispelling some of these myths, you're better equipped to navigate the cosmos, and perhaps with a little bit more confidence than you would have by, not getting on board with it. Every commander's path is different, it's unique, and how you forge your path is completely up to you.